When I was an undergraduate, I took a course in existentialism, and I had recently walked away from Christianity. A story I'll put in another video, but when I came upon a class in existentialism, it had a tremendous impact on me, which has continued the rest of my life. And Camus and Sartre and Kierkegaard were the three big uh, proponents of existentialism. And they burst forth during the Second World War when people were under extreme pressure, uh, getting killed for their beliefs by Hitler and Mussolini and so on. And uh, they developed the concept that we are born with a body and maybe a little bit of temperament coming out of the womb, but that other than that, we're just some protoplasm. And then from there on, we we make decisions, we make choices, and those choices shape our personality and our character. And we live with them, and we may be rewarded or we may be punished for our personalities. And once we realize that, then we know that the choices we make can have big effects, big results. Uh, and so when we realize that, then we start developing what Camus and company Sartre called fear and loathing, because we loathe and fear the knowledge that our choices will have blowback is the term now, pushback. Um, so fear and loathing. And the choices we make and the things we do, we are moral legislators by what we do. When you do something that you've thought about, when you do it, you're saying, I think this is the right thing to do, the moral thing to do. And that permeates all the serious decisions you make. And the knowledge of that causes people to fear and loathe their choices. So you get into that, and it makes you think seriously about what you're doing. And that's been my story. I don't just kind of rock along saying, oh, well, everything, just take it easy, don't worry about it. Blah, 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 blah. I think about things. I take things seriously. This may have come somewhat even before I studied my books by Camus and Sartre and Kierkegaard. I went to a fraternity one time as a sophomore in college and was invited there by a member and because he liked me. But while we were there, he said to me, Jan, you're never going to join a good fraternity, a popular one. I said, oh, why? He says, you're too serious. He said, you can't get into a light conversation with you. And it's a very high prize to become what they called, he said, being a face man. And a face man is somebody who can chat with anybody in a charming way without getting on to unpleasant, heavy topics. And he says, you can't do that. You just have to make the conversation serious. And I thought about that, and I think, hey, I think he's right. And I guess I didn't want to get into a good fraternity badly enough to reshape myself to become a light chatting face man. So existentialism and fear and loathing, making choices, that's been what's shaped me and my dealings with people. And I'm glad. I'll take it for what it is. I've told the truth, and I've made some hard choices, and I've paid for the blowback. The two biggest ones in my legislative career were opposing nuclear power and refusing to take dinners and drinks from business lobbyists, and opposing the sales tax, which was a way to take another 5% out of the meager earnings of lower wage people. Where now it's popular now to talk about the wage gap, the income gap. But when I was in the legislature, there was this mania to get that sales tax passed. It was going to fund all the government programs, and it was going to give tax relief to the big property owners, the banks, the utility companies, and so on. And at the time, if you didn't support the sales tax, you were what they called a troglodyte. That's somebody who was old-fashioned and foolish and unenlightened, because you couldn't see just what a win-win that was, supposedly. Well, of course, I got the last word on that, because when they finally got it on the ballot, it got 27% of the vote. And in 9 tries, starting back in 1931, when my dad was first a legislator, it was the first time they put it on the ballot, it's never gotten 30% of the vote. But they tried and tried and tried. And when I was running for Attorney General and they asked Ted Kulingoski, the fellow who beat me by 5 points, do you think, that was after they'd gotten it on the ballot and gotten it crushed, and they said, well, what do you think about the sales tax? And he says, well, sooner or later, we're going to have to pass one. Well, it's quite a bit later now, and they're not even trying to put it on the ballot these days.